Quya. So, Tao Shengyu, from Peking, is called Corporal. During Shunzi, he went to the countryside to try out and stayed in a hotel on the outskirts of the province. On this day, he stumbled out for a walk and saw a man wandering the road with a suitcase on his back, looking as if he could not find a place to live. Mr. Tao went up to speak to him, and the man put down his trunk to talk to him. In his speech, Tao Sheng was delighted to see that he was famous and invited to live with him in a hotel, and he agreed to stay in the hotel. The man introduced himself and said, "I'm from Shuntianfu, my surname is Yu, and I'm a loser." Because Tao Sheng was a little older, he called him brother. So the vicious emotion is not happy, often alone sitting in the house, but his desk is not books. Mr. Tao did not speak to him, and he did not speak, lying in silence. Mr. Tao found the man strange and looked at what was in his box, but there was nothing in it but ink and paper. Tao was so surprised that he asked UK about it, laughing and saying, "If we're readers, how can we dig a well out of thirst?" One day, UK borrowed a book from Tao Sheng, closed the door and copied the book by himself. Copied the book very quickly, more than 50 pages a day, copied and then not found him bound into a book. Tao wondered how he would sneak up on him and see him burn one page for every page he copied and eat the ashes he burned, more and more surprised. "Mr. Tao asked him, and replied, "I'm reading for food." Then he recites the copied book, and in a moment he memorizes several copies, all at once. Tao is so happy that he asked to teach it to the bad guys that he said he couldn't. Tao thinks used to conservative to be friends, so he talks to him. "Dude, you don't understand me. You don't want to tell you something. I can't explain it myself, but I suddenly told you, and I was afraid of startling you. What do we do?" Mr. Tao repeatedly pleaded. "You tell me." "It's okay, I'm not a person. I'm a ghost," he says. Now, Yin Chaos Hong appoints the officials in charge of the examination, and on July 14th, he is ordered to examine the examiners. On the 15th, the candidates will enter the examination room, and the list will be revealed at the end of the month. Tao Sheng asked, "What are examinees doing?" Yu said, "In order to be cautious, God has to take an examination of any official. If he is literate, he will be employed as an examination officer. If he is illiterate, he will not be employed. Because there are all kinds of gods in the Yin Cow. Just like there are too many gods in the world and the county decree. Those who have the will, they don't read the ancient books anymore. They just use them as a door opener to get credit. Once you knock on the door, you become an officer. You lose everything. If you've been in charge of the paperwork for more than a decade, you can't leave a few words in your chest. The reason why talented people can become officials and talented people can't become officials is because of the minorities examination." Tao Sheng listened and thought he was quite right. And from there, it's become more respectful. One day, Yu Hui came back from the outside looking sad and sighing. "I was poor when I was alive, and thought I'd be spared from it when I died, but then Mr. Bad Luck came with me to the afterlife." Asked by Tao Sheng what was going on, UK said, "When Changsheng was ordered to become king of Deluo, and he stopped taking the exams for the time being. What hope do we have when decades of gods and ghosts are mixed up in exam officials?" Tao Sheng asked, "What kind of people were those people?" Yu said, "Just say it and you don't know it. Just one word to people you might know, for example, Mr. La, Mr. Li, Mr. Li and Mr. Jower, is like that." I thought to myself, I can't listen to fate. I can't rely on the literature to advance. Don't have no access. I might as well just stop. If you don't like it, you'll have to clean up your clothes. Mr. Tao stayed and reassured him, and then stayed. On the evening of July 15th, UK suddenly told Tao Sheng, "I'm going to take the examination. Please, when you're done, go to the eastern suburbs and burn the incense of pillars. If you ask me to go to Keku 3 times, I'll meet you. When we're done, we go out." Tao Sheng has prepared wine and food for his return. At dawn in the east, Mr. Tao went to the eastern suburbs to burn incense and shouted 3 shouts of disgust. After a while, I went back to Vicky and took him for a few years. Tao asked who the teenager was, and UK said, This is Feng Zijin, a good friend of mine, who just met you in the examination room. I'd love to meet you and make a friend." So the three of them went to the apartment together, put their hands on the lights, and gave a salute. The teenager was charming and had a very modest attitude. With great respect, Tao Sheng asked, "I'm sure Zijin's masterpiece is very satisfactory, right?" You said, "It's ridiculous that there were 7 questions on the field, and Zijin has already done half of them. It's a miracle that you can leave the examination room after you see the name of the examiner and pack up your things." Tao, while soaking wine in the stove, asked, "What question did the examination room come up with? You can surely pass the exam by 1 or 2. UK said, "1 article with 8 propositions, 1 article with 8 propositions, 1 article with 5 propositions, can be written by anyone." And the writing style includes the following sentence: "Since ancient times, there has been a great deal of evil gas. Today, there are more and more of them. It goes without saying that the 18th floor of hell cannot be used. That is, it cannot be used, nor can the sinners be accommodated. What is the way? Some say 1 or 2 more layers of hell, but this is so contrary to God's good intentions. Is there more hell or no more? Or there's another way to stop this crime, and you can suggest it, not hide it." The answer to the question was not good enough, but it was very painful. There is also the proposed table, "The magic is lost." And there are 3 kinds of poems: Yao Tai Ying Shi and Peach Blossoms in the Western Pond. I don't think anyone in the exam room compares to me. Go ahead and applaud. It's only when you feel that way, laughs Mr. Feng. It's only when you don't cry after a few hours that you're a real man. After tomorrow, Feng will leave. Tao Sheng kept him. Feng Sheng disagreed. Tao Sheng asked him to come back at night. After that, Mr. Feng didn't come for 3 days in a row. Tao Sheng Tuo went us in to find Feng Sheng. Yu Sheng said, "You don't have to look for Zijin. He's honest. There must be something. Otherwise he wouldn't have knowingly refused to come." When the sun was about to set, Mr. Feng came and handed Mr. Tao a volume of manuscripts, telling him, "If I hadn't come for 3 days, I'd lost my appointment. I copied more than 100 old poems, and I ask you to enjoy them." Tao Sheng was very happy when he received it, read it immediately. Read a word of praise, about to read 1 or 2, and treasure it in his bookcase. Later that night, they talked about the night, and Mr. Feng stayed to sleep with Mr. Tao. Since then, Feng Sheng has not stayed one night, and Tao Sheng cannot sleep without Feng Sheng. They made out very often. One evening, Mr. Feng was terrified and told Mr. Tao, "The list of the yin and the cow has been accepted, and the Yu brothers have fallen. So go to the wrong place to sleep. Hear that? Get up immediately." Very painful, full of tears. Tao and Feng tried their best to persuade him and comfort him, but they stopped the tears. Yet all 3 were sad and relatively silent. After a while, Mr. Feng said, "I heard that Zheng Huanyu was coming to inspect this, and I think this may be an undesirable artificial rumor. If it is true, this examination may be repeated." UK, I heard that. A smile appeared on my face. Tao asked him why he was happy again, and said, "Huanyu Zhang Yide, who toured the yin cow once in 30 years, toured the young Jian once in 35 years, and dealt with the grievances between the 2 worlds when he was old. Then I got up and took Feng Sheng with me. 2 nights later, you and Feng returned. Don't you congratulate you, Mr. Feng told Mr. Tao. He came the night before yesterday and broke the list, leaving only 1/3 of the names on it. After looking over the rest of the examination papers, you admired them and recommended him to be the South Sea Patrol messenger. Soon, he was picked up by the South Sea Patrol. Mr. Tao was delighted to hear it, and immediately hosted a banquet to celebrate. "Do you have any spare houses in your house?" You asked Tao. Tao Sheng asked, "What are you going to do?" You said, "Since I am alone and have no home, he cannot bear to keep bothering you, so I will lend your house to live by him." Tao agreed, saying, "That's great. It's just that without a house, it's not too bad that we're in bed together. But there's a father in the house, and you have to say something to him." You said, "I knew your father was kind and trustworthy. You're about to take the test. If Jin doesn't wait here, How about going back? Tao Shengliu, they lived together in a hotel. When you've finished your exams, you'll all go home together. The next day, just after sunset, a large convoy of cars arrived at the door, said to be greeted by the evil. Yu Chixiang shakes hands with Tao and Feng and says, "Goodbye. We're going to separate. I have a word to say and I'm afraid it's going to throw cold water on you." He told the pair, "Q. What can I say?" Yu said, "When Brother Tao's fate is bad and his life is bad, he is only 1 in 10 likely to pass the examination." The next subject. He is likely to pass the examination. He is likely to be fair, but the probability of success is only 3 in 10. The next subject. He is expected to pass the examination. After listening to Tao Sheng, he felt that there was no hope for the subject, so he decided to skip the examination altogether. UK said, "This can't be done. This is stays. This is to go through the hardship of destiny knowing that you won't get the test." Then he said, "Don't stay here any longer. It's a good day. I'll drive you home. I'll ride myself." Mr. Feng happily agreed to say goodbye. Tao was confused, and somehow he was just crying and sending them away. Looking away at the car and the horse, Mr. Tao's heart was empty. After a little calm, I regretted that Jinbei had gone to his house without telling him a word, but now it is too late. Tao took the exam 3 times and was not satisfied enough, so he rushed home. When I came in, I asked Feng if she was here, but no one in the family knew about Feng. He then detailed his situation to his father. If that were the case, the guest would have come, his father says cheerfully. It turns out that before Tao Sheng went home, Tao Gong slept during the day and dreamed that a carriage was parked in front of the door, and a pretty young man got out of the carriage and came to see him in the hall. When Mr. Tao asked where he came from, the teenager replied, "My elder brother allowed me to live in a room because he didn't finish his examination, so I came first." He asked to see his mother in his room. Tao Gongzheng's resignation was reported by the family's old maid. Madam had a little boy. Mr. Tao woke up feeling very strange. According to Tao Xing today, "It's just a dream. I learned that Fengzi was the one who got the baby." The Tao and sons loved this child so much that they named it Xiaojian. Little Jin was just born, crying in the middle of the night, and his mother was very upset. Tao Sheng said, "If he is Zijin and I meet him, he will stop crying." But there was an old custom. The newborn couldn't see the birth. That's why they didn't meet. After that, Tao was asked to come inside to see him because the child cried so hard that he could not bear it. Tao Sheng told the children, "Zijin, don't cry, I'm back." The child was crying and heard Mr. Tao speak, and immediately stopped crying, staring straight at him as if he were being identified. Mr. Tao touched the top of his head with his hands and went out. Ever since Mr. Tao went to see the kids, the child never cried again. After half a month, Tao would not dare to see him. As soon as he saw him, the child had to hold Tao. If he did not hold, he would cry. Tao Sheng is also getting to like him. Jin grew up to 4 years old and left her mother to sleep with Tao. When Tao Sheng was out, he pretended to be asleep and waited for him to come back. Every day, Tao Sheng teaches him to read Mao Shi from his bed, and the sound of his poetry is muttered, and he remembers 40 lines a night. I taught him Feng Zijin's poetry, and he was happy to read it, so he could remember it. Try another poem. He won't remember. When I was 8 or 9, I looked brightly and very much like Feng Zijin. After that, Mr. Tao took the exam twice, but did not win it. Ding Union. The cheating incident in the examination room was exposed, and most of the examination officers were killed or disparaged. The cheating incident was purged, which was originally the result of Zhang Huanhu's lower boundary inspection. Mr. Tao won the second prize in his first class, then became a gongsheng. Discouraged by his future, Mr. Tao retreated to the countryside and devoted himself to teaching his younger brother how to study. "I'm happy as I am now. I often say to people, I can't change when I'm in charge."
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.